There we go. Oh yeah, if everything works out, I've got enough kayaks for tons of people.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Kathy is moving to Colorado. Her husband just retired, and so they're planning on.
Is she in DC or where is she?
Yeah, she's in DC. So they're planning on doing that once everything kind of calms down. And I don't know, it feels like saying going back to normal isn't accurate anymore.
Yeah.
But, once everybody's allowed to do whatever again. So anyway, we've got Gary and Frank in the chats. What's up, guys?
Hey, everyone.
This is 48-hour art check, round 280, most likely the last round that we're going to do, and we're going to talk about kind of how things are changing and where we're going and all of that jazz after this. So, how's it going, Scott?
Good. This should be interesting because once again, I am not in the loop. So.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting. And I'm still not exactly certain all of the details, but we'll kind of go over the details of whatever. But I thought it might be interesting to kind of not do like a full recap because I don't have the energy to go through 280 videos. But I thought it was kind of interesting. I just looked back at the first art check we did, which I thought would have been a long time ago, given that we have almost 300 episodes. But it was actually only in May 14th, 2018 is when we did that. So almost just about 2 years ago. Or would that be 3? I always get confused. That would be, yeah, that'd be about 3. So anyway, so it's kind of cool. But Josh may or may not join us. If he can, he's got some stuff. Yeah, he just sent me a note, so he said he's hopping on in a sec. So do you want to do a quick final check?
Yeah, we got to do it one more time for old time's sake.
Okay. Sounds good. Why don't you go first?
Okay, so I recorded, edited, and uploaded a new video that is, for my 100 days of making comics. So that is up on my YouTube channel. Did all that, and if you watch the video, you'll know that I wrapped up the script for issue 6. And if you've been paying attention, I've been working on 2 scripts, basically completing the story for issue 5 and 6. So the story is complete and it's pretty exciting. I'm really happy kind of with, how it all kind of came together. So yeah, super excited about that. And then, so I've got the first draft of both issue 5 and 6 done. And then today I went through and did a second draft of issue 5. And then tomorrow I'll probably do the second draft of issue 6, which is basically me just kind of going through and making sure the dialogue, making sure it matches the characters and getting the thesaurus out and all that kind of stuff. Whereas when I was writing in the beginning, I was just trying to, get a basic idea, but not spending too much time in the minutia of all that stuff. But anyway, so I did that. And then I've also been working on this digital product. It's sort of it'll be like a lettering masterclass. It should be pretty cool, pretty informative for anyone that's interested in comic book lettering. Basically, so I'm basically kind of writing a course, and it'll have tools and things that go along with it, all digital, of course. So yeah, I've been working on that, and I've been working on some new KDP books because I've kind of got this goal that every month I want to upload at least 50 new books for KDP, which what most people are doing, that's not a whole lot. But I kind of realized that the digital products are what is bringing them in the most money. So I'm trying to spend maybe like the first week of each month getting the KDP stuff out of the way, so I meet that goal and getting back to working on the digital products. So anyway, that's what I've been up to.
Cool. I have been spending a lot of time on Josh's late night streams. I have no idea how he's doing what he's doing with his commute and his job and his stuff, but he's up every night streaming for 2 to 4 hours. So I've jumped on a few of those. I've gotten a bunch of animations done for Breaking the Chains or Unchained Aggression that Jim and I are working on. And then I got something else animated that I'll show a little bit later for a new show that we're kind of rolling out. And I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, some client stuff where I'm talking to a couple people about a few animations that I was kind of approached to do. So that'll be kind of fun. That's I think that's it. I feel like I've done way more, but yeah. So I guess we can cover the rest during challenges. But so how about challenges?
Challenges, not a whole lot of work related challenges. I've been actually seems like I've been getting some stuff done, but just things like just daily things. I got an email saying that my insurance for my son's car insurance, that the payment didn't go through or whatever, and they're canceling the insurance. So I had to call the insurance company, and they're like, yeah, we got that message too. We don't know what the deal is, because I talked to the broker. They're like, because it's like an automatic debit, and it's just supposed to come out of my son's account. And so anyway, so I had to call and straighten that up. And then I've been trying to get my dad, an appointment to get a vaccination for COVID. And it's kind of like trying to get concert tickets. And actually, my girlfriend's been helping me out with it and everything. And we had so many like close calls, like where she thought she had it. She even got a date, and then right after it went away and said that there's no slots available or whatever. But then she just called me a couple hours ago, let me know that she got an appointment for tomorrow, which is good. But so my dad's got to come down here from Flagstaff, and we're going to go up there and see if we can get him his vaccination tomorrow. So that was it's kind of crazy. And then let's see. And then different things like sometimes I get these emails when you do these digital products. A lot of times there's like troubleshooting, and people have problems with installs and things like that. So it's hard for me to kind of explain things other than what I did in the instructions. So if the instructions don't work, typically what I do if somebody's having problems is I create a video. So I'll just so I had to turn on the camera and record a video and upload that and everything. So hopefully that person figured out how to do the install. So stuff like that, little things like that, but nothing major.
Yeah. For me, nothing huge, and nothing that I'd consider a challenge, but just time consuming. My wife's birthday was on Saturday, so we kind of spent the weekend doing birthday stuff and all that type of thing. So that's pretty much that. And then just working, and my computer has been I don't know what's going on exactly. But it's like constantly hovering around. Like if I look at the free space, it's like always in the red, no matter what or whatever. So
Yeah, I have that problem too with the main drive,
Yeah,
and I usually, because I don't know if yours. I think ours are set up pretty much the same, where everything's on like secondary. Or I've got three. I got three other drives.
yeah,
you know, portable drives that everything's written to, but the main drive keeps filling up, so you have to empty the trash and do all that stuff. And I'm just
yeah,
worried that at some point it's get to the point where there's nothing more I can empty. And I don't
right.
really know how to clear out a lot other than that kind of stuff. And yeah, I empty the trash and the downloads and get rid of all that. And usually it frees it up enough. But yeah, it's
Yeah, so
weird.
I don't know. I might, I don't know. I might get a bigger main drive because I've got a terabyte secondary drive,
Mhm.
um, and then I've got a solid state, just 225 gig. Um, but I mean, I don't know. We built these computers a couple years ago, and so I think storage has come down considerably. I think you can get a decent solid state drive for less now. So I think I've still got a drive slot, so I might just throw
Yeah, I don't
another.
know how that works because I talked to the guy that put everything together, and he was saying it was, he was saying that might be a problem to add another like main drive.
Um,
I don't know. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know how to do that, but
yeah, I'll have to crack it open and see. But if you've only got one in there, you should, and you have the same setup I do, you should be able to have another one.
okay, okay.
So at least one.
Or if there's a way to there's got to be a way to rewrite things. I don't know anything about computer where, like, so when you download something, it does save it to one of those portable drives or whatever, instead of
Correct.
having to, because I always have to transfer everything over and then delete it from that drive. Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be a way to set that up. But every time I think about doing that, I just think, oh, but like
yeah,
it's like so much downtime. Like you lose at least a day
yeah, yeah.
just shutting everything down and breaking everything apart, and you can't work on it because it's taken apart. And then my Cintiq is like just dreading the day that it dies because I bought it in 2012 used on eBay, and it's lasted for a long time, and it's doing great, but like it's getting pretty consistent now where like every day and a half it just stops working and I have to unplug it and plug it back in, and then it's
Okay,
fine again. And
that's
then like um, there's a bunch of stuff that it doesn't do anymore. Like
oh really?
that it used to do stuff, and now I can still use it as a stylus, as like a drawing tablet, but like a lot of the functionality is just slowly starting to blip out and
Oh
act.
no, that's scary because I'm kind of in the same boat. I bought mine used on eBay too a while back. I've had it for a while, but so far I haven't had any of those issues. So,
Yeah, I
so
mean they're supposed to last for a long time, and so I mean, and 8 years is a long time, but anyway, so I just don't want to spend that money doing that. But I tried Sidecar because I've got a MacBook Pro, and I've got an iPad Pro, and Sidecar is awful. it's supposed to be it's supposed to be really awesome where you can like use your iPad as a Cintiq to
mm,
your Mac, and maybe it'll get better in the future, but it is not there yet. Not even close. It's buggy, it's laggy, it's pretty bad. So Jim's asking thoughts on the iPad Pro. I don't like Procreate. I'm not a painter, and so I've never really gotten into Procreate. I love sketching and drawing on the iPad. I do that. I do that quite a bit. But I use Autodesk Sketchbook. It's a free program, and I prefer the brush engines. And I'm not a just I've never been a painter, and so like I just feel like Procreate is just geared towards painting.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, people love Procreate. I mean, the product that I'm working on right now is the first. I'll probably do other versions, but the first one is gonna be for Procreate because that's what's selling in like
Oh
on
yeah.
Design Cuts. If you go to Design Cuts main page, it's all Procreate stuff.
Oh, I
Um,
get it, and it's super popular. And like all of my students that have an iPad, they're
yeah,
using Procreate. It's like the default. It's the default software. And I mean, maybe I should give it another shot.
yeah.
I tried Illustrator on the iPad Photoshop on the iPad was a nightmare. Illustrator it's okay, but it's just so rudimentary compared to the desktop version. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, I'm trying to because I don't want to design in Procreate. So basically, I'm going to design most of this stuff in Illustrator and then bring it over. I'm looking at I purchased some examples of other people that are doing similar things, and I have a feeling they probably just designed the whole thing in Procreate, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, but I have done brushes in there before, and this kit will have a bunch of brushes. Like with the Hero Design Studio, it's compatible with Procreate and everything. So
Yeah.
I've done that, and I kind of had to brush up because I forgot how I did it.
Right.
But so I just kind of, when you make these digital products, you kind of like today that tutorial I did was I had to show somebody how to do the install on Affinity, and I have Affinity, but I don't really use it. So, but so I had to look at my own instructions and then go through it. And okay, this is simple. They must have skipped a step or something, because this out of all the different installs you can do, the Affinity one is probably the easiest. So
yeah. Frank is wondering if we should dislike this video instead of liking this video, and I think we should. Let's everybody give it a thumbs down for the death of.
Just so you know, Frank, it's all considered engagement as far as YouTube's concerned. So
I could totally turn a corner and just start being super negative and ripping on everything and just spread hate, and then from what I understand, that does really well on that does really well on YouTube. Gary switched his over from a thumbs up to a thumbs down, so I appreciate that. So so I was thinking for plans, we could just take the rest of the time and let's talk about what we're doing. So Josh had an idea, and like always, when one of my friends has an idea that I get excited about, I insert myself into that situation. He was like, I think I might do this. And I was like, that is a great idea. And then anyway, so we started talking about it. And it's kind of morphed and evolved into a thing that we are calling the Indie Review Show. And it looks like this. So, and that's where kind of the title of the different segments will come up.
I didn't know you had that done already.
Oh, I did that last night.
Of course you did.
It looks way fancier. It looks way fancier than it is. I'll show it one more time. But I already had that blur, and then there's just a couple switches that move around. But so the Indie Review Show, or IRS, as we're going to call it, and we're going to be reviewing indie stuff, mostly indie comics, but also, since we're all independent, we will also review other things. And so it either works if we're reviewing things like Mandalorian. Obviously, Mandalorian is an indie, but we're indie and we're reviewing it. So that's kind of how we're getting around that. But the basic idea is to cover things that we that inspire us. So one of the things that we kind of noticed out there is there's a lot of people out there that are covering kind of the big two or even the big three, where you're going into image and stuff. It's definitely a deal. IRS with Corey Kerr and Joshua Kimmel, and possibly Scott. So I haven't gotten an answer yet, but we'll see. We'll see if he answers today or if he just surprises us. So basically what we're going to do is, if it's something that's inspired us, we are going to cover it, but not just randomly. So we have a format, and we'll kind of be releasing that format as we go, but it'll be a much more formatted show. Initially it was going to be a podcast, but we couldn't in good conscience figure out how to get the editing done and get all the stuff that we needed to do. And so it'll still be live stream, but what we're likely to do is stream it on our channels and then house it after the fact house it after the fact on its own thing. So there's going to be a new channel, a new YouTube channel, a new Twitch channel, and we will be streaming those things live here or on Josh's channel, or possibly Scott's, depending on how that works out. And then after the fact, it'll go and it'll end up and it'll live on its own thing, so that they don't have to. People that are interested in just indie review don't have to like wade through a bunch of other stuff to like find it. And it'll be kind of an inspiration focus. And so the nice thing about it is, instead of just being like, what's Batman doing this week, which is, I feel like a lot of stuff, we're gonna go deep into all kinds of different things, whether it be the past or whether it be recent stuff or whatever. And either, so Jim's asking if we're going to have a set schedule. I believe we're planning on doing it once a week, and it will be a set schedule. I think we'll probably keep it on Mondays, just because that probably works with everybody, because everybody's already used to doing that. But I'm not sure exactly on the date yet, but it will be once a week. And it'll probably be in the evenings. So, but anyway, one of the hosts will be in charge of that week, and will present whatever's going on. And Josh and I have figured out, I'll show you. I can do this. Josh and I have been working on OBS and trying to figure out how best to format stuff. And I will switch over to let me switch over to OBS here, and I'll show you guys. And if you've seen any of Josh's streams, you've probably seen some of this stuff. Speak of the devil and he arrives.
Oh, hey. Sorry that took forever. My son has a fever and wasn't feeling good, so I had to take care of him. So
yeah, that's okay. So I was just in the middle of just kind of telling everybody about the IRS.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so you're telling people about how the IRS agency will be starting.
Yes, about how they're going to be audited. Anyway, let me switch over. I'm gonna go here and go stop camera, start here, and is that gonna work? Start camera. There we go. That's still not working here. I might have just killed it. I don't know if I can do that in the middle. Let's see. Can I get this to load? No. Maybe if I shut it down and start it up again. Anyway, Josh, let me show you this, because you were off. So I'll just run this one more time.
I'm so excited about that. You made it work.
Oh, it works.
So the last time I was doing a stream, not this morning. I did one this morning. There was like a super quick tutorial of something I had to do for a client, but the one yesterday, and Corey was working on that and trying to figure out how the reel would turn, and so it's kind of cool to see that.
Yeah.
Not much progress done on it. That's really exciting.
I completely cheated it, and it literally just gets smaller. It doesn't turn. It just shrinks as if it's running out of paper. So you can see really fast that right here it starts to just get a little bit smaller. Sorry, but
that's perfect though.
Yeah, there's still some stuff I've got to work out. But anyway, so we've got this set up. We got this setup where we can kind of like show what's going on. At this setup, we can go full screen. I can go a 3-up stack, which isn't quite working now. But anyway, so we're kind of
cool.
We've kind of worked out OBS, and we've worked out all the stuff. So that's pretty much it. So each week, one of the hosts will present something that has inspired them, and we will post ahead of time. So Gary's got a good question. We'll post ahead of time our schedule of what's going to be probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think our thought was like maybe even 4 weeks, so that it gives people enough time to where if the host, like the person who's not going to be hosting and bringing a book in, wants to, like, let's say Corey like brings up Punk Rock Jesus as like the 4th book. Well, that's a book I might actually buy, right? And so it's like that gives me enough time to like buy it, have it sent to me and shipped to me. And then that'll also give you guys in the audience time to be like, you know, kind of keeping up with it if you're interested in kind of reading along with us, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so we'll have a place where everybody can go and they can look at what's going on, and they can do that and follow along, or you can wait and watch the show, and then if you're like, oh, that sounds great, after you watch it, then you can go buy it or whatever.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about that kind of has the added advantage of, like, if it's a book that we both own, then the onus will be on us to like convince you, the audience, to check out the book if it's good and worth it. And then if say like Corey hasn't or I haven't read the book, then the onus is on the person who's read it to convince the other that it's worth reading, which I think will make for a really interesting dynamic, because, you know, because I mean, it might be a scenario where like we go through the whole thing and be like, yeah, it just doesn't sound that interesting, you know. And or it could be like, oh man, my collection's gonna get huge.
Jim Lujan is starting a new show called Creative Indie Arts Review, the CIA, and Gary is starting a new show called Floppy Book Indies. So
I love it. That would be so funny if we had the trifecta and we could just be like the boring ones who crunch the numbers.
So anyway, so the whole concept is that's pretty much it. And the idea will be we now everybody's coming up with all kinds of acronyms. But the idea will be that it will I hope it's going to be more interesting than the art check, because I just kind of started to get a little bit tired of talking about myself and my own stuff all the time. And so it was kind of just, a good way to get out there. And here's what I hope happens. I hope that everybody who's interested in the art check, everybody that's, still, interested, that they come with us. I hope you guys that are watching this now, try it out and let us know what you think. And like the art check, Josh, I looked, March of 2018 is when we started the art check.
Wow. Persistence. There we go.
Yeah. And you rack up those numbers really fast when you do 3 a week for the first, year or so.
Yeah. I think it was about a year where we were holding that schedule. That's insane,
Yeah.
But it was, like, that's the thing. I think the thing was like, it was serving a purpose. And I think that purpose is like sort of shifted a bit, because like we're all knee deep in creative projects. None of us, I think, need that accountability, like for like a full show,
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, I've been feeling like, and Kayla and Emily have been doing an art check, and they're up into the 90s of theirs, which is pretty awesome.
That's so rad.
And if you guys aren't watching theirs, it's fun. So you gotta jump on there. But yeah, I was kind of feeling, I don't know. I feel like the last few episodes, I've just been like, all right, let's get through the art check so we can get to the fun part, which is the talking about stuff instead of pitching and whatever. And so we're still going to have a spot where we, pitch what we're working on. And the point of what we're doing is not just to be another review show, but is to do, like here's a book or a TV show or a movie that inspired me. And so I took this from it, and this is how I applied that. And you can kind of see that in this work, or, this is something that just got me excited about this type of thing. And so there will be some shop talk instead of just what we're not going to do is be one of those shows that just, goes down on Wednesdays and grabs the new most popular books and just tells you what the plot is so that you don't
Yeah.
have to buy it. It's going to be like
personal in the sense that, you know, it's stuff we love and are inspired by, and that we brought to the show for a reason. And so, like, in my case, I think I'm probably alphabetically going to be going through graphic novels on my shelf, that just to kind of keep it like in order to it, that I can easily keep track of. But also because when I was stocking my shelves, like, that's sort of how this idea came to fruition, where it was like, it would be so cool to talk about these things with people, because there's a lot of books on there that, like, I'm not sure a lot of people have read and have meant a lot to me. And then Corey and I were talking about that and broadening it out to like TV shows, like you know, animation, like books, like just novels, and I think it could be really cool. So
yeah, and I think it'll be interesting for people that are creators and people that are readers and people that are watchers and everybody. And one of the limitations of the art check, I feel like, is if you are not spending 5 to 10 hours or more a week on personal projects, I don't know if you'd be super interested in this show. But with the IRS, when you jump in, you can become an agent because you just like pop culture and you like to be, you know, a lot of people enjoy reading indie comics and enjoy reading independent stuff, watching indie cartoons, you know, and just kind of a vibe that isn't mainstream. You know, some people might call that punk, some people might call it whatever, but like kind of a counterculture, underground DIY kind of vibe. And it's hard to find that stuff. And so we're going to shine a spotlight on it. And I think what will happen is that it'll be a better situation to build a bigger and more thriving community, because the barrier to entry is lower. Instead of being like, you know, you've got to do backbreaking work and, you know, and sacrifice all your free time working on personal projects. It's like you can do that and you're definitely going to benefit. And I feel like that's the way everybody should go. But there are a lot of people out there that are, they're consumers and they just like to watch things and they like to read things, and that's it. And that's fine. And so this for them will be a great introduction to some of the stuff that is harder to get to. And so, you know, the other thing is, if it inspired me or inspired Scott, you know, and somebody liked it, then they might come across that video or that podcast or whatever this ends up kind of evolving into, and then checking out Scott's work, you know, or being like, oh, hey, this guy says that he was inspired by one of my favorite indie books that nobody ever talks about, and he's talking about it, and he loves it. And so then they go check it out, and it's whatever. So, and I mean, who knows what it'll be? We might have guests at some point. We might have, you know, it could get big. And I have, not that I have a lot of brand deals, but I'm starting to get some. And I think this format opens that up as well, to where I hope that it becomes a place where indies can promote their stuff, where they can get, you know, a bigger spotlight on it and things like that. Because there was an age about 10 years ago where the gatekeepers were dead, and I feel like they're back. They've risen from the grave, and they're gatekeeping again. And so, so I like the idea. I like the idea of, you know, this is kind of a modern day zine. Sorry, you know, where, you know, we used to break into stuff, and, you know, nobody would publish it, so you'd get some copy paper and you'd paste it up and then you'd distribute it yourself.
Yeah,
you know, making Photoshop or photocopy paper.
That's actually a perfect analogy. This will be like kind of similar to like, I don't know if you ever got into like underground punk or ska. Like, this is like your little moon ska catalog that you'd have to order out like for a quarter, and it'll select and curate a bunch of stuff you'll like and send it to you, right? And I also think it's super important because, and Corey and I were talking about this too, and I'm sure maybe you already touched on it, but like part of why we want it to be called the Indie Review Show is there's plenty of shows out there that are going to review like the newest big two publications, right? But there's not a ton out there, at least that I've come across, and even trying to promote my book, that's even promoting stuff like Daniel Klaus or Chris Ware or like Art Spiegelman, like, you know, artists that are literally like huge, but still like independent enough to where there's still like a smaller amount of shows even covering those topics. And so I think in a weird way, it'll also like Corey was saying, like it's going to hopefully help to advance those books, which should have as much attention as like, you know, like a Spider-Man or, you know, yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the thinking. Yeah.
Well, one of the best things about this type of storytelling is that there are stakes and things matter and there are consequences to people's actions, and you can't have that. You can't have that in the big two. You know, Captain America is going to always be Captain America, and you know he's never going to die. He's never going to age. Nothing's ever going to happen to him. You know, he's not going to change, and it's okay because that's who he is, and that's what people come to expect. And so, if there's those people that want to come for more of the same, that's great. But if you want stories with some consequence and some weight and some gravity and some things like that, they're there. They're just a little bit harder to find. And so, anyway, I like Capes and Tights. I like superhero comics. They're awesome. And I mean, some of the ones I will be covering will definitely fall into that category. But I feel like it's kind of the perception is that that's become the only thing that's out there. You know, the only thing is what the big producers give us. And there's so many good things out there that are not made by giant corporations. So Scott.
Yes. Well, a question. So it's not limited to just comics then?
No, I think we can cover
music, indie movies, indie.
And it doesn't even have to be indie.
Right.
Because if you are indie and you were inspired by it,
right? Okay. Got it.
The show. And so for me, like, I'll give an example: Guy Ritchie's Legend of the Sword, which is his King Arthur tale. I will probably cover that because the pacing of how he does kind of montage action scenes definitely influences my storytelling. So yeah, it could kind of be basically the crux is that it's inspired you to do work or inspired the way you do your work.
Yeah. And like, you know, even though I was mentioning the big two, it's like, you know, there might be an episode or two that like pulls up like a Silver Age or Bronze Age comic like that we grew up reading that influenced us, or one that we've revisited. Like I might pull out like a Ditko book, like, you know, from, you know, I don't know, like a Doctor Strange run or something where it's like the paneling in this, like, you know, that kind of thing. For me, like, to answer that, like I'll probably be focusing primarily on comics and graphic novels, but I also think that it's important to not be restricted to comics and graphic novels, like in the sense of like there's a lot to highlight, but also there might be a week where it would be really cool to talk about like JD Salinger or like, you know, or something totally different. But I do think the fact that it's going to be stuff that inspires us in our current work, like will really help us target it down, because it's like, well, I kind of like this TV show, but did it inspire you in any way that's going to affect your work? If not, maybe we gear towards things that are inspiring your work. You know, I don't know if that makes sense. So it'll help us self-curate to what we're doing. And I think we'll open it up as well for, you know, potential reviews of new books that people want to send us that inspired them. So it kind of creates like a community kind of effort as well.
And in all transparency, I'm not on the same level as Scott and Josh when it comes to comic book history and comic book knowledge or anything, because I came super late to the game. There was a couple years in high school, and then I took a couple decades off, and so I'll be talking about all kinds of different things. So it'll be a mixed bag. So Scott, my question is, what questions do you have?
What questions do I have?
Josh
that was my first
been
question.
Talking about this over chat for like
a
couple days, and we've had like a couple kind of verbal conversations. Most of it's been chat, but it's like I feel like I'm too in the weeds to see like huge flaws or gaps that we haven't thought about.
Right. Yeah, for me, I'm just kind of I'll sort of, I guess, reserve my not judgment, but my involvement. Like when you guys start, I definitely, I'd like to be. The good thing about this show right now is that I don't have to host it. I don't have to send anything out. I can just show up and do it. So I definitely want to be there when you're doing it, and then kind of get a feel for, once I kind of know what it is, then figure out what involvement I want to, or how I want to involve myself. Because one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm doing like a mentorship, which is going to be, at least, I'll be doing one of those a month. And I'm also working with a coach right now. I'm going to be doing some training later this month, a big, like, serious, like, coach training and things like that. But I've been doing some preliminary stuff, and I told him that I was going to take on this mentorship. He's like, are you? Because I said I was also doing 2 live streams and all that. When you guys said that you were going to phase out the art check, I told him, I said, well, I don't know what's going on with that, so I might have some free time for you. I still think I can do it, because, like, depending on what the mentee that I'm working with, how much of my time he wants. I mean, right now it's just structured at like
Can I interject just to say something totally stupid?
Yeah.
Is it just me that when somebody says the word manatee, thinks of manatee? Every time I hear someone say manatee, I
said minty, like, and to me, when I think minty, I think minty fresh. So it's a weird word. But I don't have the same association you do. I think like minty fresh, which is
the writers of 30 Rock had that same association.
Oh, did they? Which one? The manatee or the minty?
The manatee. Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, Tracy Jordan takes on a manatee at one point in time.
That's great. I didn't actually know that, but that makes sense.
But anyway, having said that, I mean, this definitely sounds like something I at least want to, whether I can do it every 3rd episode, it depends how much prep and everything. I definitely want to do it, whether I'm there like all the time, or if I'm more like Batman 66 Batgirl that kind of shows up every once in a while, and it's like a special event when that happens. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I want to show up the first couple times you're doing it, get a feel for what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And more than likely, I'll probably have some stuff I want to talk about as well. But like I said,
and then the cool thing about the format, because we had similar concerns, because it's like the last thing we need is like a time suck, and the advantage of like a live stream, like I've been doing live streams on my channel almost daily, and they haven't been adding or taxing, because of the fact that I'm literally getting the work I'd be doing anyway done and managing to make content. So it kind of fits, like, whereas like anything that piles on that, it takes away from our ability to create, and we're all super overloaded. So one of the things I think, and we'll have to see as it plays out, but that won't make it like an extraordinary amount of work, is the fact that like I pick a book one week, Corey's not obliged to read it. You're not obliged to read it. And then, it's like when it's my week or whatever, I have to like host the show and kind of walk through the book.
Yeah.
And kind of try to sell you guys on it. And then the neat thing about that is, if it's a book where you're like, crap, that's a book I've always been wanting to read, then it's an excuse to read a book you've always wanted to read, So it's like, I think it kind of can function on a good level, because Corey and I were also talking about the fact that, like, I don't frankly make enough time to read graphic novels as I should, because when I do, I'm always rewarded by it and my own comics get better. So this would be a cool way to do that too, where it can be like, man, you know, like I even mentioned Punk Rock Jesus, like, because Corey mentions that all the time. I've seen the art from it. I still haven't picked it up. But if I know we're reviewing it in 4 weeks, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick it up finally and read it. You know, I don't know if that makes sense. So,
yeah. I forgot. I was going to say something and now I forgot, but I'll let you know when that comes to me.
So I mean, yeah, that's the basic idea, and then I think that there could be, you know, very easily there could be, you know, guest spots or anything else. I'm just going to take this off.
I don't remember what I was going to say. so like, because I'm in the same boat with Josh, where it just seems like I never have time to read, and I always wait till it's late at night, and then I pull out a book, and then I like fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so I kind of stopped doing that. But lately, I've been having trouble sleeping, so I'm like, well, if I read a book, and if I'm not tired, then at least I get through a book, and then if I fall asleep, then I fall asleep. Because I need sleep too, so we'll see. So I might be doing some more of that.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, that's kind of what we're thinking. I'm curious if anybody in the chats has any suggestions or questions or concerns. And some person is suggesting that we do some audiobooks. I think Josh still does, but I know I blaze through a lot of audiobooks, and I'm always looking for audiobook suggestions. And also, there are some major inspirations from various books and book series that I've done. And so I will definitely be covering, you know, some novels as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So. And then Gary's agreeing that it would be nice to have extra incentive to read more comics. Also, here's something that I've noticed that I think is really cool. I'll try not to take too long making this point, but way back when I was an early adopter of cord cutting because I was cheap and poor, I remember some of my more well-off friends, you know, who had cable or dish or whatever else, and they were making the argument against Netflix. They were saying, oh, it's dumb because, you know, when you show up to work, you know, or whatever. And I was like, well, Hulu, I can watch it, you know, 24 hours later, you know, and they're like, yeah, but you're missing out on that water cooler conversation. And I thought it was a stupid argument. And I was like, it's just dumb. It's the same content and everything. But then Netflix and Disney Plus have kind of changed my mind. I really enjoy binging TV shows. And I hate waiting for TV shows. But at the same time, watching The Mandalorian with the rest of the US, watching The Mandalorian at the same time, and we were all in episodes one at a time, I noticed something that I thought was really interesting. That there's a bit of a community that comes around when you're experiencing the same content at the same time, and the conversations that happen around that are fascinating. So like right now, you know, a lot of people that I know are watching WandaVision, and there's people on YouTube that are doing like, you know, guesses on what's going on in between episodes and things like that. This has the potential to be on a much smaller scale, obviously. This has the potential to be something like that, where there's a group of people that all read the same book or all watch the same TV show or all, you know, catch up on the same whatever, and then get together and talk about it. And that's one part of the show that I haven't mentioned yet that I'm actually really excited about is we're probably gonna have guests or whatever. And I'd love to get other people's input on stuff that's inspired them. But we're also going to have a way for people to join the show with either an audio or a video clip. And so we're going to have kind of like a mailbag kind of audience interaction portion of the show where if you can get it to us with enough time, all included in the show. And so if you are reading or watching along with our schedule, then you can drop in with your 30-second thought or your 60-second thought on it, and we will play it on the air with stuff that points to your, website or social media or whatever you want. And then we might even have, like an audience suggestion thing or whatever. But I want this to be a lot more of a community and audience participation situation than 3 people talking about the stuff they're making. Because I'm always interested in what Scott and Josh are doing, but I got so sick of talking about my own stuff. I was just like, this has got to be boring. So, and there'll still be some of that because we're still going to tie it into, you can see how, from Hell's Heart, I used blah, 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 that type of thing. But
also,
won't be that.
There will be a very brief plug section at the beginning, but it'll be very brief. So it'll just, that's like if, let's say Scott's, co-hosting on that day or something, he can plug his shirts on Amazon, but, then we have it within a very small section of time so we can get into the meat of the content, throughout the show. And then if it ties into the content of the show too, then it's you can plug your work too. But yeah. I think it's going to be, I agree. I think hopefully it'll lead to some really cool discoveries. That's kind of what I'm thinking is if it can lead to cool discoveries for the community, for ourselves, that just rarely leads to bad things if you're,
right,
consuming good art,
Yeah. And I think another thing about it that's going to be interesting is we're not always going to agree.
Mm-hmm.
And that always makes for interesting stuff. So I will not be going alphabetically because you can't really see it. But my bookshelf is just a nightmare of organization. So there's no way that I am going to take the time to go in there. But I will be keeping kind of just track of what we have done and what we're about to do and things like that. So
I love it. And technically, I'm saying alphabetically, but I might be starting with the big books. Who knows? So it's going to be alphabetically according to my shelf.
Okay. Is your shelf alphabetized right now?
I am. Okay. So this is where I think I might, the older I get, the more I realize, I think I'm possibly slightly autistic. Because my son is, and then I also exhibit certain symptoms that are pretty common with autism, high functioning autism. So
is autism genetic?
Sorry, what?
Is autism genetic?
Yeah, well, it tends to be, and most people from our generation and before, usually we don't really find out we are until we have kids that are, and then we're reading it. For me, at least, that's been it so far, where I've been reading all the symptoms of high functioning autism and being yeah, that might be me. But anyhow, the reason I bring that up is I am super, I don't know why, for my entire life, I've been really into alphabetizing my CDs, my books, kind of setting it up if I can, divide by section and stuff. And it used to be a classic. It's funny because there's a movie High Fidelity and book as well that talks about the guy reorganizing his music after a breakup. And I remember when I saw that really resonated with me because that was literally my breakup habit. Was if I went through a breakup, I would alphabetize and organize my books and my CDs. So anyhow,
I would just listen to angry emo music and drive really quickly.
Well, I'd do that too. That's part of it, of course.
That was my breakup routine: is turn on Saves the Day and go really fast on a motorcycle. So that's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder how many of us born in the 80s or earlier just have totally undiagnosed things, because I often will hear stuff and I'm like, I wonder if I have that or whatever, because it just wasn't super common back in the day. But,
yeah, and then I also, as weird as it is, I kind of just think there is this myth of normal people that somewhere there's these normal people, and like they have it figured out, and then there's all the rest of us who don't, who happen to be everyone on the planet.
There is bringing up my concern. My movie collection is alphabetized, and how to handle movies in the same series is always very upsetting. Keep them together, mess it up, separate them. My shelf, every once in a while, and this is when resistance is hitting me really hard, I'm like, I've gotta organize this. And I try to keep like stuff grouped in a way that makes sense to me, but there's like conflicting things. Like I don't have like a Dewey Decimal System or anything like that. So it's like, it's stuff that feels like it belongs together. That's what my shelf is. It's like I feel like these belong together, and I feel like these belong together. And if I'm being honest, I don't like saying this, but if I'm being honest, there's like I have two shelves, and about, I don't know, 18 inches of one of my shelves is visible in my live streams, and so I'm always like, what do I want people to see that I'm reading? You know, like can I take that into account as well? And I'm like, I'm going to put that there. And so I don't know. I might maybe I'll start using the shelves behind me as a way to like foreshadow some of my picks in the future or something. I'm not sure, but
like it maybe just play games with the viewer and like rotate the book like every other episode. So like if you watch each episode, the book is gradually working its way off of the shelf.
Yeah, you just see it slowly. Oh man. Gary says he has several sections: Blu-ray, DVD, 4K Criterion. He may have a problem. And Frank is wondering if he has the number version of dyslexia. I'll tell you something interesting. I don't know if this is diagnosable or not, but when I was 7, 2 of my brothers were killed in a car accident. I have like a mental block on most of the information I learned there, like in the 2nd grade. Like if I try really hard, I think I can now, but I can't do the order of the months. I always miss 1 or 2 of them. Like I can get 10 of them, but I'm usually off by 1 or 2 because I think that's when we learned that. And then like certain times tables, no matter how much I try, are just beyond me. there's just I don't remember anything from that year. I mean, I remember a lot from that year, but like the normal like school education stuff,
yeah,
there's like this weird triggering thing with that information that seems to just not. I mean, that was what 33 years ago. It's still persisting to this day. So that's probably something.
Yeah,
I don't know what you call that, but
yeah, man.
Kayla's saying it's a symptom of acute stress reaction, PTSD. It's a trauma response blocking out your memory. And I do remember when Kayla lost her memory. So yeah, that makes sense. And I know several people that's happened to. So
yeah, I mean, that definitely resonates.
But I mean, I don't think you make it through this world without crap hitting the fan, either genetically or physically or situationally or something. We're all just a giant bag full of whatever, walking around dealing with what's in our bag. So, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So that's kind of it. I don't know, Josh, if you want to kind of like tease the categories that we're going over, or if we want to talk like format.
Let's see. Categories. Wait. Explain what you mean.
I've got them pulled up.
Okay, cool.
Here's how this works: is Josh and I have these conversations. Josh has great ideas and then forgets that he had those ideas. I screenshot them and remind them, and he thinks they're mine. That's how most of this has happened. And so you wrote a while ago. My thought for breakdown is characters, plot, art or style, what we took away from it, meaning the meaning to us. Mm-hmm. So definitely not trying to guess what the author's meaning was. And then what we were inspired by and how it's applicable to our work and what other people might be able to take away from it. Mm-hmm. And then where people can get it and plugs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
that's kind of.
Oh, and we were thinking like when that's all resolved too, it can go to like in the case of where we're trying to convince the viewers, then we might be able to just pull the chats for like the next week or something and be like, hey, do we convince you? And then if somebody on the stream or whatever it hasn't read it, then they can respond at the end after the whole thing and be like, I'm not really convinced, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that'll be an interesting dynamic to it as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because I don't know, if we just sit up here and we just talk about random stuff, it's hard to have a conversation about that as an audience member. But if we're talking about like a thing that everybody can access, and like, my view of art is that art is in the relationship of the viewer and the art piece. And so every piece of art is different in the eyes of every person. And so it's really fascinating to me, to see what other people take away from something that I've engaged with in a different way or whatever, because that's always pretty interesting. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. I think that would be good. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Like I said, I'm kind of anxious just to see how it all unfolds. So
yeah,
because you guys have talked a little more about this, so a little more. It's still, a lot of it's still kind of new to me as far as how it's going to be formatted and everything like that. But yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at my bookshelf and see what I can pull from there.
Yeah, one of the key things when we start this is going to be that, like, us figuring out which 4 books we're going to start with and then kind of proceed from there, so that's going to be really good.
Yeah. So how do you want to, mostly just because I volunteer to do it, but a lot of the stuff that we use like show notes or like a whatever place is usually just on my website.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to keep doing that and just have like CoreyKerr.com/IRS and everybody can go there? Or do you want to do it in a different spot, or like, how do you want to house like the schedule?
Yeah, that's going to be something to think about. I'm not sure. I think the idea of having it live somewhere would be good. Maybe we could house it on your site, but you like get a URL for it or something, so it redirects, so it's easier for people to remember outside of just
right.
Like, because we do want to brand ourselves and stuff like that, but you also want to brand the show in the action that the person has to do, so they don't have to, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And one of the things that this, I think, is that we're going to be trying to do is, and I don't know what this will shape out to, but there will be some form of revenue generation, whether that be affiliate links to the books, because it doesn't cost anybody anymore to click on an affiliate link. Like, the price is just the same. Then we would get a kickback. There might be a Patreon or a coffee or something along those lines. Because our StreamYard payment is coming. I don't know when.
That didn't already come up.
I almost don't want to say anything because it should have.
Right.
Maybe they just haven't figured out the system yet. I'm not sure, but yeah. But at some point in time, we're going to have a chunk of change due to keep this thing running.
Yeah.
We self-funded it at first. I'd like, it to be of enough value to people that they don't mind dropping $1 a month or something.
Yeah, we got one sign up that supposed to give us a month, and we were hoping we'd get more, because we put out in the beginning when we put out some StreamYard tutorials, and we were hoping that would get us some signups, and I think we got like 1. But it's crazy how much StreamYard's grown. I mean, it's just, I think those people are just, I think it was pretty much a stroke of luck that they were developing that, and then all of a sudden there was no more Google Hangouts, and like, okay, I guess it's StreamYard.
Well, I think about any streaming service and the uptick they've had since the entire the entire economy shut down, and this is the way people communicate now.
Yeah,
that's a really huge luck of timing too, that they had it kind of working by then.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, because it's not like Zoom was like, oh, there's a pandemic. We should make a service.
Right.
It just happened to already have it, and you know, or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, we'll have to figure out. I mean, somewhere to put that stuff. Start the channel, but I'm thinking that next Monday is episode 1. Are you on the same page, Josh?
And depending on how quickly we can get everything, like the structure set up, yeah.
So, so I don't know. We'll see. I did this 5-second thing. I'm just excited about it, so I'll play it one more time.
Yeah.
I did this 5-second thing so that right here, we can just place text over the top, and I can drag that out a little bit longer. And I don't know if we want sound or some sort of whatever. I think we do want some sort of audio bumper in between sections. And then I don't know if you want to gamify it a little bit. We tried to do this in 48-hour art check, and then we just eventually gave up because we were all really bad at it. But one of my concerns with so many different categories is that it's going to be a 4-hour long show because none of us are concise. So I don't know if you want to do, because initially on the art check we had like a timer, and I would have like lights flashing when their time was up, and we would all just kind of like, it was like if you're sitting at a podium and you're supposed to wrap up your talk when the light starts flashing, and it starts flashing, and you just put your binder of notes over the light so you don't see it flash anymore. Like all of us did that. So that's kind of, I don't know if we want to like,
I think
rigid with that, or
I think we definitely need to make like a shared Google Doc or something where it's literally the format of the show, so that we have that pulled up when we're going, so we're not forgetting where we're getting to next.
What do you mean?
I think literally having that will help keep the structure and the flow of the show. So.
What do you mean by a shared Google Doc though? Like a
just like a Google Doc. I mean, just have the format of the show, the 6 bullet points or whatever, you know, like where you're like, okay, at this beginning we have the plugs and the intro, like the news or whatever. So and put the time we want it on there. We're aiming to get this in 5 minutes. We're aiming to get that in 2 minutes, whatever it is. And then we do that for the whole thing. And I think honestly that will do more if we just have a sheet like that in front of us, because that also will give you the monumental fear of God if you're going 10 hours on a 5-hour moment, because you have to get through all that content.
Right.
You know, I think that works. I mean,
because another thing we could do, I think I could figure this out, is I could have a animation along the top, and you would just see it moving towards the next section if we were consistent with it. But I don't know. I guess we'd all have to really commit to stay on the time if we did that. But and then do you want like there's got to be a section for like a response, you know what I mean? Like is it going to be that like the one person goes through all of the criteria and then they start talking about it after that?
I think it needs to be interjected with as you're going to keep it interesting. Because if this just turns into like one person's monologue on an entire thing, I think it might get boring in that way. Right. So I think like it'll be almost like an interactive presentation, you know?
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, here's what I read. Here's what the plot was. If it's something we both read, we can kind of collectively or like figure it out. Like, yeah, I mean, I think because it's going to alternate weeks, it's like, hey, it's your week. You picked mouse. We all are going to pick mouse because it's brilliant, right? So it's like, but then again, who wants to cover mouse, right? Like that's a tough one. So, yeah. But the point being, if whoever's week that would be, like, you know, you could have the main person who's running point on it, and then like, did I miss anything in the plot? You know, if it's a shared thing, you can kind of tag team it in the sense of like, yeah, there was this other important part, but yeah, I think you got the gist of it, you know, and we move on. But I think that would actually keep it more interesting, beat for beat.
Yeah.
Which we should keep in mind when we do our books, and like part of the reason I think it'll be good to have like a Google Doc that's like the format that can also be like your notes for the week that you run, you know, because I definitely would recommend take a few notes just so that you have like plot broken down, characters broken down, that kind of thing. You know, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna have, because we're using OBS, we're gonna have the ability to switch to like a document camera. So you're either gonna have like, you know, stuff scanned in to show or point a camera at, you know, the book or whatever.
And my goal is to try to, I think I'm probably going to be utilizing my camera to just flip through, you know, while talking about it. So,
yeah.
And that'll be interesting too, to kind of figure out the logistics of, but I do like the idea of kind of planning for it sooner than later, because I feel like if we say like, yeah, let's do this in 4 weeks, then it'll be 4 weeks from then, and then 4 weeks from then. So,
yeah, no, I say we just do it. Let's just do it. Let's do it next Monday. Kayla's asking same time, and I think this is pretty much the only time that works for everybody. So yeah, it'll be the same time. And if you're curious on the thing, we're still using StreamYard, but what we're doing is we are using OBS virtual camera. So right now, like I can do stuff like this, and I can have like animations and whatnot, and that's because I've tricked StreamYard into thinking that OBS is my webcam, and Josh is able to show like his stuff, and so it's still StreamYard, because the nice thing about StreamYard is it aggregates the chat, and so if we're able to gain an audience on like Twitch or whatever, then, you know, like people commenting on Twitch and people commenting on Facebook and people commenting on YouTube and whatever, it all shows up in the same chat, so we can kind of put that up. And so that's, I mean, that's kind of another thing. Like I could do something like this where let me go full screen on me, and then I will go add not window capture, display capture, add display capture. Go like this, and like that, and like this. And then I can come in and crop that down. So I can go like that, and then like this, and like this. Zoop. And then I can take this and I can put it over here, so that the stream, so that we can actually pull up the conversation, like as we're talking about it. And that's actually one thing I'd
also say, Corey, if you want to do the same thing a little quicker too, like let's say you were actually screen sharing, you can literally just drag that window. Like I did that today when I just dragged the window off screen to where it's just covering all the sections of stuff for StreamYard, except that whole thing, which is kind of neat too. So yeah, there's ways to gamify it and show the chats, I think, which would be really cool.
Yeah. And so and there's interesting stuff. Like, I mean, live polling, you know, we could do some live polling stuff. There's stuff like that that's out there. So
yeah. And I think, you know, we'll start it with a simple structure with little sections and stuff. And then if the sections kind of suck, we can change them. And I mean, like, that's the nice thing about a new show, is like, you can kind of wiggle things around until they work. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of it. So
sweet.
Yeah. Other thoughts or anything?
No, I mean, I'm excited about the change. I am curious what Scott's thinking is on it. and I do want to reiterate like how it like we did consider a lot like that this can't be another crazy overbearing creative project because like once again we all have we all have too much. Yeah, but I think it'll be fun. And Scott, I do hope you'll at minimum like join as a guest on a bunch, and then
I'll be involved at some point. It's just gotta figure out what that level of involvement's going to be. But
yeah, because I can't wait I want to see your book recommendations. And I also know like Scott, you have a massive knowledge of comics, but like you have totally
probably not as much as you guys think, but yeah.
Yeah, but I do think you have some diverging interests and knowledge that we don't have and I don't have, and I think each of us has like our own kind of niche in it, and I think that'll be interesting too.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anybody who's watching right now, stay tuned, and we will be announcing like a new channel that you should subscribe to on YouTube, and channels that you should subscribe to on Twitch, if you're interested in doing this, and then just kind of like stick around for this type of thing. Now, Josh, as far as streaming it live, your channel, my channel, alternating back and forth, because I know we're going to host it on whatever.
I mean, we could technically, it's funny, but we could actually, is it possible? Well, I wonder if that would be a problem on YouTube, but is it possible to just stream it on everyone's channel?
It is possible to do that.
But would it kind of hit the algorithm where it's like, oh, it's two of the same video, and then
I don't know. It seems as though that is probably a bad idea. I would imagine that the algorithm might see that as some sort of spamming thing or something.
Yeah.
They blacklist people pretty quick for some random stuff.
Yeah. So I have no idea then. That'll be one to figure out.
So I mean, I am planning on doing more of the type of stuff I used to do before the art check, where it's like more video essays and more edited content on my channel. And then I don't know, if there's only two of us, then we can actually do live stream to Instagram too. You can't do it with three though, but you can hit Twitch, you can hit Periscope on Twitter, you can hit Facebook and YouTube.
How do you live stream to Instagram? Okay, we're gonna have to talk about this off air because I think that might be boring for people. But
it's simple. Basically,
how do you do it while doing your show? Would you set it up? I don't know.
You just each of you has your phone. You can only do it through mobile, so you just start a concurrent live stream on your phone, and then the other person jumps on. You have to wear headphones because the phone doesn't cancel things out like StreamYard does.
That makes sense.
So, and that's it. It's just like a live stream on, and I mean, live streams on Instagram you get pretty decent engagement because even if, and Gary's asking if that's Reels. It's Instagram Live initially, and then you have the option to save it to IGTV after the fact. And so that's kind of that. We lost Josh.
Sorry, I accidentally hit a button that was not the button I was meaning to hit.
That's fine.
You're good.
So, and my secret goal is that we get Scott up to speed enough so that he launches his idea, because it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
That's my secret goal is to get Scott all of the testing he needs to figure out the thing that he wants to do.
Yeah, if Scott can do, to me, like I was saying, with limited time, it's hard because we all have to pick our battles. But I have to say that show, that would be something I would be an avid fan of, not just like somebody who'd want to do it occasionally. It would be like it just sounds super entertaining.
Yeah, you got to stop mentioning it because it's not fair to the people who are watching.
Yeah,
that's know what it is.
I'm going to keep mentioning it because eventually when it's launched, we're going to be like, oh, I knew about this 3 years ago. This is so cool.
See, what you don't realize, Scott, is Corey's talking about any future idea you do that's awesome, so you can call back, and be like, "I told you."
See? Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So anyway, stay tuned and pay attention to whatever. I don't know. I'll post it in a couple different places. I'm sure Josh will post it in a few different places as well. Yeah, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe, hit the bell. And now the bell has options. So now you have to choose what the bell does.
Oh, yeah.
So hit the bell and then hit show me all of the things that Corey does, because that way when I post it as a community, I can't remember what they call that, a community post. It's basically just a thread post that's not a video. On YouTube, at least, that'll show up, and then that type of thing. But also, I'll put it on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all of it. And if anybody's on my newsletter, I'll put it there too. But people are like, "Am I on Corey's newsletter?" Because I haven't sent one out in a long time. But you can find my stuff at CoreyKerr.com. And if you want to see where I am on any of those things, you go to CoreyKerr.com/online. And that's where that stuff is. And if you want to follow Josh's stuff, you can go to JoshuaKimball.com. And if you want to buy Josh's book, go to CoreyStories.com. Does that redirect to the Amazon?
No, it just goes to a page on JoshuaKimball.com that's specifically about that book, but it will have a link to the Amazon. So
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And
both the book and the forest. I'm just
if you're not already subscribed to Josh on YouTube, because I don't know how long he will be able to maintain this, but there is literally 20 plus hours a week of content so far, since you're doing 7 days a week of 3 to 4 hour long streams of somebody in real time making comics and talking about interesting stuff. And if you want to find Scott stuff, you can go to circworks.com. If you want to find Scott stuff on Amazon and help him get past the merch tier that he's at, you can go to that link that's on the screen right now. And Scott also has a Patreon that you should follow, because you get stuff early. And if you're already subscribed to Scott on YouTube, but you're not a patron on his Patreon, is that how you say that? Then you're missing out on stuff dropping a little bit early and some live streams occasionally and things like that. So you guys are all awesome. Jim, Luhan, and I will probably be doing a Breaking the Chains either tomorrow or Wednesday. So
good show.
How do you close out the last episode of 48 Hour Art Check?
One last time of the animation that will never be seen again.
It's been a journey. I appreciate it. It's been fun. Thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll accept this award.
If anybody wants to go back,
it's like we'll never see each other again.
Yeah, right. If anybody, I forgot that this was the last episode. You mentioned that, Scott. But if anybody wants to go back, Josh and I have been keeping playlists on our YouTube channels of every episode, and so you can go back to 280 episodes. You can see me adopting my son in Arizona. You can see Josh and I finishing our books, which is the original reason why we started this show. So you can go back to when I was working on that children's book, and Josh was working on the book, which is now published. There's a lot of really interesting stuff if you want to jump back. But yeah. So Gary says that we should close out by telling our all-time favorite jokes.
Oh, I don't have any jokes.
Oh, man. Oh, no.
That's so much pressure.
I have one, and now I'm kind of forgetting it, so never mind. I'm so exhausted from this crazy day. It was mainly the muffin joke, but oh, there it is. Okay, Have you guys heard the muffin joke already?
Oh, I don't think I've heard the muffin joke.
Okay, so there's two muffins. They're sitting in the oven, and one muffin turns to the other and goes like, "Do you think it's getting kind of hot in here?" And the other muffin goes, "Holy shit, a talking muffin!"
It's I've heard like so many different variations of that. Yeah, I don't know. I have no good jokes. I don't think yeah. Memorized jokes. I don't think I have any.
My favorite one to crack up a kid is I'll mention one more for you, Corey. My favorite one to tell my son is the knock knock. Who's there interrupting cow? Moo, like that one. That's
right.
It's classic.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's great with kids. Like just kids like that.
Didn't say good. He said favorite. I have like a weird triggering fear of choosing a favorite thing. I'm sure that's part of some sort of diagnosis that I don't have, but yeah, I have trouble choosing a favorite anything. But yeah.
All right. I got one. I'll see if I can remember how to do this.
Okay.
So there's this guy that the guy walks into a bar and he sees this guy standing there. He's naked and he's got this giant, like the ship, steering wheel. Like I love that type of thing. Let's see if I can tell it right. So I'll do the abbreviated version. So he's got this thing and he's like moving it like this, and the guy goes, and it's wrapped around his you know what, and he's like he's turning it and everything, and
the best.
He's grunting. Oh, and see, this is how bad I am at jokes. I forgot to mention that he's a pirate. Okay, so he's a pirate. He's got this thing on his dong, and he's like moving it around like this. And the guy says, "Why are you doing that? Doesn't that hurt?" He goes, "It's driving me nuts."
That's the best. I love that one. That punchline is the best. It's just so good. Whew. Okay.
I can think of one. I don't think this is my favorite joke, but it's one of my dad's favorite jokes because he would tell this joke constantly. So there's a now I've got to think of it. There's a teacher, a lawyer, and a doctor that all are attending their friend's funeral. And their friend, asked for, he gave each of them $10,000 because he was rich. And he said, "What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take this money, and I want to take it with me when I die. And so as you file by my coffin, I want you to throw the $10,000 in there and kind of tuck it under. Pretend like you're like mourning the dead as you do this, right? So that nobody notices, because the mortuary won't do it. I've already asked them. But if you guys do it, and then you guys are the pallbearers, so you just shut the lid right afterwards, right? Nobody will know, and I'll be able to take it with me." And so they all file by, and then they shut the lid and they carry him out, and they're at a party a couple weeks later, and the doctor says, "Guys, I got to tell you, it's been eating me alive. It's been eating me alive. I just put 1,000 in. I kept $9,000. I only put 1,000 in. It's not going to work. He's dead, right?" And and the lawyer says, "Man, that's pretty bad. But if it helps, I kept 30%, as a lawyer fee." And the teacher shakes his head and says, I can't believe you guys, your friend's dying wish, and you steal from him at his funeral. I'll have you know that I cut him a check for the entire amount. It's a long joke with very little payoff, but that's the only one I can think of at the time. And half the audience right now is going, "What is a check?
What's a check?"
How does that even work? I know. So anyway, mainly I'm laughing because I can imagine my dad telling that joke and just cracking up because he thought it was so funny.
That's awesome.
So, all right. So there's some jokes. Good suggestion. All right. We will see you guys next week in a completely different format than what we're looking at now. And the art check. I'm still going to do Friday afternoons with Kathy, but it's not going to be the same format or whatever. Josh was trying to do that, and I kind of messed up his timing. Anyway, so there'll still be some stuff, but yeah. I don't know what to say to this question, Frank. I just spent an hour and 30 minutes talking about that. Anyway, you guys rock. Hopefully you come with us to the new show wherever it lives and whatever it does. And thanks for sticking with us. It's been really fun to get to know everybody and stuff like that. So it's been awesome. So, go make stuff.